Coffee Time with Justin. It's Friday morning and it's bright and early, and we're both bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, kinda. Uh, Folks, if you could hear our rants off air, wow, they're good, eh? They're good rants, aren't they, Justin? We really get it all resolved before we come on and do the show.
Yeah. Oh, that would be a podcast. I mean,
That
like,
would be, yeah, it'd probably, there'd be a lot of bleeps and stuff, but it'd be kind of interesting.
be a little closer to the Rogan stuff, but
It would be. Except without the aliens, we
yeah, yeah,
off air we always catch up with each other in our weeks and what's going on in the business world and all that. And it's always interesting. But today I want to talk a little bit about pro builder inspection, and I want to ask you, what's the most common mistake folks make? They're getting this house ready, they want to change things up or whatever, but it's the biggest mistake they make, especially when they're trying to do a resale down the road. What is it? Tell the folks so they know.
there's a few things that typically come up, and a lot of them are actually personality based, with the client themselves, and sometimes with me, and sometimes that always doesn't mesh, but I try to give my opinion based on non-bias, but doesn't always work that way, and then and they'll give me their opinion too, which is definitely biased in most cases. But the one that comes up the most is that people see a house on the internet, and they go through those initial discovery stages, and then they get in to go see it. They fall in love with an aspect, or maybe two or maybe three, whether that be architectural or the potential of something that they can do, something they saw in a magazine, or on Instagram or whatever, and they sort of start focusing in on, yeah, I can see how that would work in there. It's a lot of it's kitchens. A lot of people look at the kitchen space and they can imagine these things that they've seen, these architectural details, and which is amazing. That's what kind of starts the process. However, there are a lot of times where, when we get to the kind of the inspection stage, where we're inspecting and potentially trying to put together a design or a quote, or some ideas on how that idea can move into this space, and they'll get so fixated on the fact that they need to have this one architectural item that the whole rest of the house, the repairs, anything else, the landscape, the exterior, whatever else, whatever it might be, goes down the drain. And the issue with that is that there's typically a way to sort of compromise on that design idea that's going to look 90%, but going to free up budget, time, and money to work on the actual. A lot of people don't, it's people want it to look nice. They don't care how it gets there or how it mechanically looks, but that's the stuff that's important to us, especially when we're doing a pro builder inspection. It's like, we want to make sure that the guts are good, so that the what's on the outside looks great. I mean, it's no different than the human body or anything else. It's like, if we're rotten inside, it's probably going to look not so great outside eventually, and the same thing goes for the houses.
How do you like? I can totally see that. You get so you think you need it, you want to have it, you got to have it.
Right.
But you've got so many other aspects of it. Do you sort of present that, like when you do the inspection, you go, look, here's a list.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe we should look at these things. I guess you try and just make them a little more level-headed on what they're trying to get to, right?
Yeah, and sometimes a lot of this circulates around taking out walls. It's always a hot point, right? Because I mean, all the modern kitchen designs typically dictate that you need this massive expansive space to get this look, to get the islands in, to get the details, to get the high ceilings. Like, everybody wants tall cabinets or glass uppers or whatever it may be, and sometimes we need more height, sometimes we need more width, and those are pretty hard items to adjust, typically, because they're always structured. So if we're raising a ceiling, that means cutting out rafters, reframing. Sometimes we're cutting out trusses, so then you're into a really quite a bit of reframing. Wall takeouts to get islands in and stuff like that. A lot of the times it's not the end of the world, but sometimes a couple of those design details actually dictate whether or not the house is going to fall down or
Yeah.
not. Right? So, um, yeah, and I try to jot out a quick list for them and be like, these are the other things that I saw that actually, are going to affect the health of you in the home. I know you really want the island there, but can we go with a couple of posts and a smaller island, and then fix these other things, or and try to make prior? And sometimes, honestly, Dave, it comes down to they cannot get over it. They'd rather live with a knob and tube electrical panel, but have their island, and that's ultimately it's their decision.
Yeah, I agree 100%. But again, you're trying to look at it and say down the road, this is what's going to help you in your long term financial too.
Right.
If these things are updated, is that a common theme? Like, do you see that a lot?
Oh yeah.
Like, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's a hard sell on mechanics. um
wow. Yeah,
Electrical is, if somebody gets the fear factor of the electrical thing, which sometimes I actually have to like really lean on, because
yeah. Well, it's
electrical
important.
fires are not common, but they you'd be surprised how prevalent they are. And it doesn't take a whole hell of a lot. It just has to take the right amount of screwed up wire in the right, like in a combustible area, and it's like
Exactly.
real quick, right? It doesn't take much. I mean, like the amount of electrical fires that happen during construction, and it's wide open. I mean, we can see it at that point, is insane. So you can imagine, when it's closed, it doesn't take much for a wire to run through. You hang a picture and you go right through it,
Yeah,
behind the wall, and all of a sudden every time that light switch flicks on and that wire gets energized, you're powering up the screw, powering up the picture that it's hanging on,
yeah.
and it doesn't take long
Creating that.
for things to start to ignite, right? So, but yeah, I mean, so all these things are, you know, furnaces, HVAC, the plumbing is a huge one, especially with, and plumbing is the easy solver these days because we've got so much flexible line that we can snake stuff into places that we never could do it before. But yeah, plumbing updates are not what they used to be. They're way easier to do.
That's a show down the road because I never even thought about that. You've been in the industry so long. Like,
Yeah.
things have changed massively
Oh yeah.
as far as like plumbing, electrical, like
Yeah.
everything is just so crazy now, right? Like, it's you guys got to keep up to date. We're gonna have to talk about that in another show because that's an important aspect that things keep getting better or improving, but at
Yeah.
the same time, you guys got to stay up with it and all the codes. That would be the next question and the last question because you have these people, these great big ideas, and then you got to tell them, I don't think this is going to work. You're not even going to get close to code, right?
Yeah.
Which is another problem.
Yep.
And you look at all your secondary issues. So there's a lot to put into it, isn't there? When people want to do renos to resell or something.
Yeah. No, and again, like we deal with, we do have a real estate side to us, and we do our own flips and things like that. But we'll often get hired, both on elevation side or on inspection side, to let, uh, you know more amateur flippers, I should say, or more amateur real estate investors, and sometimes pro guys, because I mean, even the pro guys, if they're just on the investment side and they're just doing sort of the dictating, um, there's a lot of houses out there that these guys still haven't experienced because they don't actually, they don't work hands on them. So sometimes we actually we'll go in and do a builder and like a flip inspection for some of these guys that have been in the game for 40 years, just because like they have never seen that aspect. They'll call me up and they'll be like, have you, like, they send me pictures and be like, you ever seen this? I'm like, couple times, but like in 1912, right? And and like, yeah, and I can convey the experience that I've had with it, and whether or not they should move forward or run for the hills, right? So, um, unfortunately, yeah, we do have to tell people some hard truths on whether or not they should even stay on track with this house, regardless of what their dreams were. And I it happens. I get people that cannot leave the dream alone. They know it can, or they want this house, whatever it is. And I've had good stories and bad stories with that, and it all pertains generally to older homes because these are the ones that are the issues. Um, but a super quick story, because I say this about older homes, but a good friend of mine is up like near Bancroft area, and him and his wife found, they moved from down here in Norfolk. Him and his wife found a 3-year-old house that was the dream house, and they wanted to make a couple changes to it, but nothing crazy because it was brand new. And this one had somehow, well, not just this one. Apparently, this builder had six houses in that. The long and short of it is that it was so far under code, and somehow the city passed it, and it went through, so now I'm consulting on a Terrion claim that's been opened on it. The thing is falling apart. The thing's 3 years old, and the walls, three of the four walls are rotted to dust, like the exterior sheathing, because of improper roofing details, improper flashing details. The windows were not they were meant for brick mold. They were installed in a siding house. Literally, the water was just bypassing them because there's no
Wow.
siding flange there to stop it, right?
Right.
Um, so yeah, so I mean, it's not just, it's 90% of it's old homes because that's the nature of the beast. But you got to watch, like, some of these things. If it happens, and Ontario doesn't happen a lot, but it
But it
happens. And
does.
sneak through for whatever reason, and I don't want to get into that because that's another show.
Yeah.
But yeah, and this thing is like, this house is junk. So it's a $380,000 Terrion claim, and I'm recommending it get tore down because well, I don't know. The mold is level 5, right? So,
Yeah.
and I don't know how far it's spread. So and because it's a buddy of mine that I worked with for a long time when we were younger, I'm like, dude, this house this is done. Like, there's nothing to save here, except for, let's pull the kitchen out and we'll put that in a storage unit because it's nice.
Yeah.
That's if the studs have that much black mold on them, I said, well, like, it's not like we're gonna scrape them.
Yeah. Can't be
So
done.
yeah.
Again, another reason to call Pro Builder
Yeah.
Inspections, folks, and just get it done. Make sure you know what you're getting. Get that dollar value.
So
Thanks.
they've been living with their parents-in-law since the third week that they own this house. So they've owned this house for 2 years. They've never lived in it.
Thanks for doing this today, Justin. I know you got to get to work. We're not even ending on a good note this week. But that's the kind of talk we've had all day.
The
But folks,
good note is we're going to build them a brand new house in the spring.
right. So
There's
Pro Builder, call
yeah,
them. Numbers
right.
down below. Justin will come and check it out. Make sure you're getting the value for your money, and make sure that you give him the opportunity to help you. Take care, bud.
Thank you.